In the last video, we found that Zitkala-Sa was crying while all other students in the school were having their breakfast. Why was she crying? Because she made mistakes. With the ringing of the first two bells, she acted foolishly because the rule in the school was quite new for her, and everything was new, and she was really very nervous and she was sad. And then with the ringing of the third bell, when everybody started eating, she could not have the courage to eat, so she was crying all along. Let us see what happened then. But this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in that first day. Late in the morning, my friend Jidwin gave me a terrible warning. Jidwin knew a few words of English, and she had overheard the pale-faced woman talk about cutting our long, heavy hair. Our mothers had taught us that only unskilled warriors who were captured and their hair singled by the enemy. Only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair singled by the enemy. Among our people, short hair was worn by mourners and singled hair by cowards. So that was another reason which made her unhappy. Already she made mistakes and she was in a very pathetic condition. She could not even start eating. And another memory came to her mind, that she said that this eating by formula, that 3 bells will be rung, with the ringing of each bell you have to do one thing, you are not to do some other thing. Everything is so rigid. But this eating by formula was not the hardest trial in that day. There are some other things also. What are the other things? She said, in the morning her friend Jidwin her friend, that girl told her that Jidwin had heard the pale-faced woman. We earlier got reference to a pale-faced woman, a woman having a pale face. That woman was talking about Zitkala-Sa and Jidwin, these two girls, that these two girls are having long hair, their hair should be cut. And they were talking, the woman talked about cutting our long, heavy hair. Then what is wrong with the cutting of hair? Because in their culture, in the culture of Zitkala-Sa, in their ancient American culture, what was the practice? Their practice was that our mothers had taught us that only unskilled warriors who were captured had their hair singled by the enemy. Whose hair is singled? Singling of the hair means cutting it in a bobbed style. Your hair is bobbed and it is cut short. And in their culture, their belief is that their mothers taught them that whose hair is cut short, only if it is a soldier, and in the war the soldier could not fight well and he was captured by the enemy. The enemy, as a mark of punishment, after capturing, they single the hair of the unskilled warrior. So if your hair is singled, if your hair is bobbed, it means that you are not a skilled warrior, you were unskilled in fight, and then you were captured by your enemy, and your enemy, as a mark of punishment, as a mark of ridicule, they have cut your hair short, they have singled your hair. So this was the belief in their culture. And among our people, short hair was worn by mourners. Who are these mourners? M-O-U-R-N, mourn. From this we also have the word mourning. Mourn means to lament. To lament. What is this lament? Lament means to feel sad, to cry, to shed tears. If someone has died, then the members of the family will lament, they will mourn, they will remain sad for some days. This is called mourning. So in their culture, in the culture of Zitkala-Sa, their practice was that short hair was worn by mourners. Interesting word here is worn. The word worn is used for hair. Short hair is worn. We know that we use the word wear, W-E-A-R, wear, W-E-A-R, wear, then wore, then worn. These words are used for wearing cloth. We wear cloth. Clothes are worn by us. But see, in case of hair also, if you have a particular type of hair, it is called you are wearing this particular hair. If you are having the haircut of Yo-Yo Honey Singh, it means you are wearing the hair like that of Honey Singh. If you are using a perfume, So you were wearing, I may ask, what kind of perfume are you wearing? So we wear clothes, we wear perfume, we wear hair also. The word wear is used not only for cloth, it is used for cloth and also for perfume and for hair. For using a particular type of perfume or for having a particular type of haircut or for putting on cloth, for all these things the word wear is used. See how it is used. Among our people, short hair was worn by mourners. It means in our society, in our culture, if someone is mourning the death of someone in their family, that particular, those people, they will have only their hair cut short. And shingled hair, if your hair is shingled, it is bobbed, it is done for whom? Cowards. If you were a coward, for example, in the war you could not fight well and you were captured by your enemy, then your hair is shingled. And if you were mourning for some sad happenings in your family, then your hair will be cut short. This was the belief in their culture. But here in the school, what happened is that everyone's hair is to be cut short. Everyone's hair is to be shingled, no matter whether you are in sad hair or happy mood. So the culture that Zitkala-Sa grew in, their practice, their social practice, their culture, this is not respected here. Because in their culture, having such short and shingled hair means that you are either a coward or you are in a sad condition. But they cannot say anything. They are forced. When they discuss this, Zitkala-Sa is saying, we discussed our fate some moments, and when Jidwin said, we have to submit because they are strong, I rebelled. No, I will not submit. I will struggle first, I answered. So they talked about this. Jidwin and Zitkala-Sa, they talked about this, that this woman had talked about us that they are going to cut our hair short, they are going to shingle our hair. What should we do? Jidwin said that we cannot do anything. We have to submit, we have to surrender, we have to act according to their choice because we are weak here, they are strong. Zitkala said, no, I will not submit, I will fight back. Then let us see what kind of fight she is going to have. I watched my chance, and when no one noticed, I disappeared. I crept up the stairs as quietly as I could in my squeaking shoes. My moccasins had been exchanged for shoes. Zitkala-Sa now found that in the morning she got this warning from her friend that these people are going to shingle their hair, and now she again made mistakes. So she has been caught now, she has been watched now, and her identity has become quite known now. At any moment they may come and catch them and start cutting their hair. So what is to be done? She thought that I have to escape from here. I was looking for my chance. I watched my chance. What is the chance? That when no one will notice, I will just escape from here. When no one noticed, I disappeared. I crept up the stairs. Creep. C-R-E-E-P. Creep. Its past is crept. And crept. Creep means depending on your knee and your hand, you move. Instead of walking on your foot, when you creep, it means you use like a small child, you use your knee and hand and then you move. Why was she doing it? So that no one can see her. So she said, I crept up the stairs as quietly as I could in my squeaking shoes. Squeaking means making low sound. Her shoes were making low sound. Earlier we got, her shoe is called moccasin, which is made of some very soft kind of leather, so it doesn't make any sound. But now what happened, while escaping, she was not able to recognize whose shoe it was, and her moccasins were exchanged. Instead of using her own moccasins, she used someone else's shoes, and these shoes were making certain sound, and she was moving. Along the hall I passed without knowing whither I was going. Whither means where. I was just going. I was going, and along the hall I was moving. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know my destination. I was just going to save myself from these people. Turning aside to an open door, I found a large room with 3 white beds in it. The windows were covered with dark green curtains, which made the room very dim. Thankful that no one was there, I directed my steps towards the corner farthest from the door. On my hands and knees, I crawled under the bed and huddled myself in the dark corner. So ultimately she found a large room with 3 beds in it, and there were windows and there were curtains, and since there was no one inside the room, she got the opportunity and she entered it, And going inside the room, the farthest bed, the bed that was at the end of the room, in the corner, she went there and she hid herself under the bed. She said, on my hands and knees I crawled and creep at the same thing. She crawled on her knees and under the bed, and I huddled myself in the dark corner. Huddle means to gather closely like this so that no one can see. Huddle myself. She did like this under the bed. And then what happened? From my hiding place I peered out. Peer out means when you are, you know that some people will come and they will try to catch you. You are hiding somewhere. You just look like this. This was what she was doing. She said that from my hiding place I peered out, shuddering with fear. Shuddering means trembling. She was trembling in fear, and she was sometimes, whenever she heard a sound, she would peer whether anyone is coming. Shuddering with fear whenever I heard footsteps nearby. Whenever anyone's footstep she could hear, she started fearing, and she would notice whether anyone was coming. Though in the hall loud voices were calling my name, and I knew that even Judwin was searching for me, I did not open my mouth to answer. So by this time what happened in the hall, it was informed, it was known to all that this girl has escaped. Where has she gone? No one knows. They started announcing her name in the microphone. Gertrude Simon Bonins, where are you? Come out. Gertrude Simon Bonins is wanted here. They made announcement like this, and she could hear this from her hiding place, that her name was announced. And now she became sure that even her friend will be helping those people, because her friend in the morning told her that they have to submit. Her friend does not have this much of courage, and since they knew that these two girls are friends, they will definitely take help from Jidwin to find out Zitkala-Sa. Then the steps were quickened and the voices became excited. Some more voices became more excited, and the footsteps became quickened, more footsteps. They started coming close to her. The sounds came nearer and nearer. Women and girls entered the room. I held my breath and watched them open closet doors. She was able to see everything from her hiding place, that yes, a large number of girls and women came. They opened the closet door. They opened the closet door. Closet means a wardrobe. So wardrobe door also they opened behind the large trunks. Someone threw up the curtains and the room was filled with sudden light. Someone threw up the curtain and then the room became quite lighted. What caused them to stoop and look under the bed? Stoop means to bend down like this. You want to see something from under the bed, you just bend down. This is called stoop. What caused them to stoop and look under the bed, I do not know. I remember being dragged out, though I resisted by kicking and scratching wildly. Ultimately, she was caught under the bed. And when she was caught, what to do? She is still fighting. She resisted. How did she resist? Resist means to try to face this, to try to save herself and to fight back. She said, I resisted by kicking. Kicking means she used her legs. At the same time, she used her hands, also scratching. When you attack someone with your fingers, with your nail, that is scratching. So she used her hand as well as her legs. And in this way she resisted, she fought back. But in spite of myself means in spite of all the efforts that I made, I was carried downstairs and tied fast in a chair. They were the majority, she was the single person. So they all dragged her. By force they took her and they took her down, and taking her downstairs they tied her fast, very tightly they tied her to a chair. I cried aloud. She was crying. I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while until I felt the cold blades of the scissors against my neck, and I heard them gnaw off one of my thick braids. G-N-A-W, gnaw. G-N-A-W, gnaw off. Gnaw off means to cut. You know, when a barber cuts your hair, he uses scissors, and when he uses some quantity of hair, that is called braid, B-R-A-I-D, braid. Ladies and women, they have braids of hair, you might have seen. So these are braid of hair. So when her braid of hair was cut, sound it made, she could feel it. She said, I cried aloud, shaking my head all the while. She was When she tried to fight back using her leg and hand, now she could not do it because she was tied to a chair. Now the only thing she could do was to move her head. She was moving her head all the while so that they could not cut her hair. She said that ultimately what happened, she felt the cold blades of the scissors against my neck. I should feel the coldness of the blade. The blade of the scissor started cutting, so she felt the coldness of the blade, and she could hear the sound of gnawing off of her hair. Her hair was gnawed off. Then started to gnaw off her hair, to cut her hair. The sound of cutting also she could hear. Then I lost my spirit. Since the day I was taken from my mother, I had suffered extreme indignities. Indignities means disgrace, absence of respect. How did she face all these indignities? Whenever the day she came away from her mother, she came to school, what happened? Wherever she went, she faced indignities. She faced disgrace. She faced disrespect. People had stared at me. People stared means they looked at her. How come this girl with long hair? This is not in our culture. So because she was having long hair, people stared at her. I had been tossed about in the air like a wooden puppet. A puppet made of wood, anyone can throw it like a football, and the puppet has no choice. Wherever you throw it, it will go. Someone else will again catch it, throw it. She said, I was like this. I had no freedom. I had no independence. The way they liked it, they behaved with me. Wherever I went, they made fun of me. They stared at me. And now my long hair was singled like a coward's. And ultimately what happened? Even my long hair, I have lost the freedom of keeping my long hair, wearing my long hair. Against my choice, it is cut, and in our culture, this is a mark of being a coward. So I have been made a coward. For them, it is a different thing. But in my culture, I should have the freedom to practice what my culture has been practicing. In my anguish, I mourn for my mother. Anguish. Anguish is the mixture of anger and sadness. If you are sad and angry at the same time, it's anguish. In my anguish, I mourn for my mother. Moan, M-O-A-N, moan. Moan means the cry of pain. Cry because of pain. If you are crying because you are in pain, for example, if a part of your hand or any organ of your body is cut, then you will feel pain and you say, oh, this is called mourning. She said, I mourn for my mother. She cried for her mother because she knew that only a mother knows, only a mother is the one who at any point of time will be beside her child. So her mother, if she had been here, she would have pacified her, she would have taken care of her, she would have loved her, but there is no one here. So in her anguish, I mourned for my mother, but no one came to comfort me. Not a soul reasoned quietly with me. Not a single person came and supported me or gave me any kind of mental support or told me that forget about this, okay, I'll be here, they are the majority, forget it. No one even consoled me. Not a single soul reasoned quietly with me as my own mother used to do. For now, I was only one of many little animals driven by a herder. You might have seen a large number of cattle, cow or goat or any other animal. When the herdsman, the person who is the owner of these things, the person who is in control of all these animals, animal has no freedom. The owner will dictate what to do. The animal will tie the animal with a rope, and the owner will lead the animal. The animal has no freedom at all. Wherever the owner wants, the animal has to follow this. The same is the case with her. She is already tied to a chair, and now her long hair is cut, and this is all against her culture. That was what happened in United States of America almost 150 years ago. The very people, the original people of the land, firstly, they were called Indians. Their identity is linked to a different country. They have nothing to do with India. But it is the outside settlers who captured their land, who occupied their land, they gave them this name. And not only this, they even imposed their culture. And the original people there did not have the freedom to practice their own culture. And you found at the beginning that Zitkala-Sa said to her friend that I will fight back, I will not accept, I will not submit. But at the end we found that she had to submit. But the best part of the thing is that at the end, at least she could not fight back at that time. But when she became 24 years of age, when she grew up, she started writing. She wrote all these things, and that's why you have got this lesson. Although at that moment she could not fight back, but ultimately after getting education, after becoming, after being able to write things, after being able to have freedom to express her views, she wrote all these things, criticizing the dogma. This is called dogma. We got the word dogma earlier. Dogma means a practice or a belief like this, that your hair should be cut short. What is the logic behind it? Some people do not like it, let them not cut it. If you like it, cut your hair, no problem. But you see, this is not only in America, not only 150 years ago. Even in recent times in our own country, you must have noticed that things are becoming really worse. The majoritarian imposition of dictations. This is our way. Your dress, the food item that you will take, the kind of slogans you will express for patriotism, all these things should be the way I tell it. You have no freedom. So this imposition of power over the weak, that has been in practice since time immemorial throughout the whole world. And what is the way out to get rid of this? We can learn it from Zitkala-Sa. That she, of course, at that time she submitted, she surrendered, but after being educated at the age of 24, she started criticizing these things. And as a result, we people after 150 years have been able to know what was going on in America at that time. So through education, you can bring some end. You can bring an end to this kind of evil practice. We have to be educated. We have to take the pen. We have to fight back with pen, through education. And in the next, this is the end of this Zitkala-Sa story. In the next story, we will again find another thing that happened in India, a similar story. And let us wait till then. Thank you very much for being with me.